say check?
Check.
And up next is
Close reading.
in close reading.
In close reading.
We will be able to
We'll be able to
describe a pond habitat.
describe a pond habitat.
This is important because as we're trying to figure out where our frogs should live, we need to be researching different habitats. Today we're going to be doing this by closely reading a nonfiction text all about ponds and answering some questions about it. Turn your bodies to the front. Brianna is there and she's in Spark. Isaiah is there and he has a bubble. Yes, ma'am. Did you? I don't see any throw up. How about if you need to throw up, you can go to the trash can. That reminds me, Danica, why don't you go see the nurse? Yes, Kimari.
What is the microphone?
We'll talk about that another time. Now is not a good time. All right, friends. So we have been researching different habitats. What types of books have eyes are on me? Kaden, why don't you sit down until you start to feel sick? Okay. We've been researching different habitats, and as we've been researching, what genre of book have we been reading? Have we been reading poems? Have we been reading? What genre have we been reading? I know Barack knows because he's got a silent hand, and I know a few more people must know too. What genre have we been reading, Benjamin? We've been reading nonfiction books, and what's important about nonfiction books? Ooh, I see a silent hand from Barack and Lewis again. The same people know, I know. I know other people know as well. What's important about a nonfiction book, Demiri?
That it tells you
True and
simple.
true and
Simple.
no.
I mean fake.
No, you're just shouting out what someone else said. Use your own brain. True and
Real thing.
true and real things. So this is a nonfiction book, and it's called Life in a Pond. So what do you think it's going to be telling us true and real things about?
I don't know.
What do you think, Kaden? About life in a pond. It's going to be teaching us all about life in a pond. And we're going to be researching in this today because good readers, they need all the information about a topic. We're going to be reading this to get as much information as we can about ponds so that we can make an informed decision about where our frogs should live. We're going to read it one time through quickly, and then we're going to go back through another time and answer some questions all about it. As we're reading, your thinking job is, would this be a good place for my frog to live? And you need to be thinking why or why not. Yes, ma'am.
What is that on a board?
This?
No.
I don't know what that is. Someone must have been drawing on my board. Tamara, can you go hit the lights? Life in a Pond by Carol K. Linden. That means Carol K. Linden is the
Author. Author.
Great. Get with the team.
Table content.
You're right, that is the table of contents. Table of contents. Chapter 1 says what are ponds, pond animals, pond plants, living together, the glossary, read more, internet sites, index and word list. So we're going to read one time through quickly, and then the rest of the time we're going to answer some questions. What are ponds? A pond is a small body of still, shallow water. Ponds are found in many parts of the world. Ponds form in forests, on farms, and in cities. Not important. I'll help you with that later. Ponds are smaller than lakes. Pond animals. Many kinds of fish swim in a pond. Fish breathe through gills. Ducks swim in the water. They eat insects. Ducks also dive underwater to look for food. Make sure your eyes are on me. I have Kennedy's eyes in the back. Frogs kick and swim in the water. Frogs eat insects. Pond plants. Water lilies grow in ponds. Their leaves float on the water. Their flowers bloom. Cattails grow in ponds. A cattail is a plant with a fuzzy brown tip. The tip kind of looks like a cat's tail. So these are the part that looks like a cat's tail. Sunlight shines through the shallow pond water. Sunlight reaches plants that grow on the bottom of the pond. Living together. Many plants and animals live together in ponds. Animals find food in ponds. Plants need pond water to grow. Ponds are full of life. And then here we have the glossary. The new learned words that we might have learned, you might have already known them, but the ones that they have in the glossary are gills, insect, lake, shallow, and still. And then here, if you ever are lucky enough to have this book on your own, it gives you the names of other books that you could read all about ponds, and internet websites that you can search for all about ponds. All right, so now we need to go through, yes ma'am. If you feel like it, then go fill up. You don't need to tell me, just go do it. Now let's read through it one more time. As I read this second time, I want you to remember one pond word that might be new to you. So any word that sticks out in your brain, I want you to lock it in your brain. Let me see you practice locking something in your brain. As you hear a new word all about ponds, I want you to lock it in there. Practice one more time. Back and spark. I also want you to try and remember 2 pond facts. Raise your hand if you can remind me what a fact is. What's a fact, Milani?
A fact is something that can be. A fact is something that can always be true.
It's always true. So it's not your opinion. It's not something you feel in your heart or think in your brain. It's something that is always, always true no matter what. So we're going to be remembering, locking in our brain 1 pond word, and remembering with a light bulb 2 facts. Life in a pond. Oh, I hear one person already locked something in their brain. This is a special text feature at the beginning of the book. What is this text feature called? I know Marquise said it earlier. Who can remind me? What is this text feature called? I know Kimari has a silent hand. What's it called, Kimari?
The table of contents.
The table of contents. What's important about the table of contents? What does it do? Barack?
It tells us what's happening on the page.
What's happening on each page. So on each page, these are the big ideas that it's going to be all about. So what is it going to tell us all about on page 8? It's the same people who always know, and I know some people over here know as well. What's it going to tell us about on page 8, Marquise? Pond animals, because that's what it says in the table of contents. What's it going to tell us about on page 20? Chloe? Living. Love the energy from Barack. Love the energy from Nalani. Living. You did. Why don't you go see the nurse? Living. Jeremiah, help her out. Living together. What is it, Chloe? Living together. The table of contents tells us all about what each section of the book is going to be about. By reading this, we can quickly inform ourselves about what we're going to learn. So what is the header of this section? What is the header of this section? Brianna. What are ponds? Yes. If it falls out, you can go get a bag from the nurse, but it's not, it hasn't fallen out yet. So on this page, we're going to be learning all about what ponds are. Eyes back on me. Great, Daryl's are already there. Let's read. A pond. A pond is a small body of still and shallow water. Ooh, I'm talking one word in my brain that I learned this minute. Ponds are found in many parts of the world. Ponds form in forests, on farms, and in cities. Ponds are smaller than lakes. Learning one new fact that I didn't know before about ponds. Pond animals. What do you think these next pages are going to be about? I know Jeremiah knows, he has a silent hand. What do you think these next pages are going to be about, Lewis?
It's gonna be about different animals and different animals and different animals.
Different animals. What makes you think it's going to be about different animals? Help. You got it? Nalani, me think what we're going to be learning about next is about pond animals. As I read the next few pages, your thinking job is, what types of pond animals live in a pond? Many kinds of fish swim in a pond. Fish breathe through gills. We keep our hands to ourselves. Ducks swim in the water. They eat insects. Ducks also dive underwater to look for food. Frogs kick and swim in the water. Frogs eat insects. Okay. So, what type of animals did we learn about in a pond? In a minute, but not yet, we're going to turn and talk with our partner about the animals that live in a pond. Remember, blue will turn to purple, orange will turn to green, and red will turn to each other. All we're doing at this point is silently turning to our partner and sitting in spark. You have 5 seconds to get there. 5, turn to your partner in 4. Nalani is already there. Lewis is already there. 3, 2, Rich, you're with Kennedy today. Thank you. 1, and ZERO 0. Raise your hand silently if you do not have a partner. Chloe, turn to Daryl. Jeremiah, why don't you turn and be with Demary?
Yes.
Rich, scoot in and talk with Kennedy. Yes. Yeah, you do. Rihanna, I'm with you. If you, let's do whoever is closest to the agenda, silently raise your hand. And we'll do Benjamin, and we'll do Kennedy. You will talk first. You will say, these animals live in a pond, and then you'll list as many as you remember. Ready? Go. Marquise, you need to talk. We're not doing that right now. We're not doing that right now. He's talking first. Hands on top. If you are partner number 2 and you're closest to the computer card, you're going to build on to what your partner says. You're going to say, these animals also live in a pond. And you're going to tell them as many animals that you remember live in a pond. Go ahead.
These animals that live in a pond are fish, ducks, and frogs.
Eyes tracking me in 3.
Where's your partner?
Eyes
You need to
tracking
need
me
to
in
meet with
2.
your partner. You need your
Eyes tracking me in 1. And ZERO 0. Eyes are tracking me just like Mr. Barack's. We're missing 2 friends with the team.
Come on.
Great, I'm glad you chose to be with the team. I heard one person say that fish lived in the ponds. What other animals did you and your partner hear about lived in a pond? What other animals, Tyron, what other animals live in a pond? Complete sentence. A frog can live in a pond. What else can live in a pond, Isaiah? A duck can live in a pond. Any other animals? I heard about one more. It didn't say a snake.
A goose.
Maybe a goose. It didn't say that. What else does it say? I'm going to read this one more time, and you're going to listen for the animals that you hear. Frogs kick and swim in the water. Frogs eat insects. What other animals live in a pond, Brianna? How do you know that insects live in a pond?
Because in the book it says frogs eat insects in the pond.
It says frogs eat insects, and if frogs eat insects and frogs live in the pond, then that means insects must also live in the pond. All right, let's turn the page. On these pages, they're all about pond plants. Read it with me.
Pond plant.
As I'm reading these pages, your thinking job is, are you being safe with your hands? I can tell you're being safe with your hands if they're in spark. Your thinking job on these pages are, what types of pond plants grow in a pond? Water lilies grow in ponds. Their leaves float on the water. Their flowers bloom. Cattails grow in ponds. A cattail is a plant with a fuzzy brown tip. I don't remember telling you. The tip looks like a cat's tail. Sunlight shines through the shallow pond water. Sunlight reaches the plants that grow on the bottom of the pond. What type of plants did we learn about grow in a pond? What type of plants grow in a pond? Daryl?
Cattails.
Cattails. Why are they called cattails? Why are they?
Because the thing around it looks like a cattail.
It looks kind of like a cat's tail. What other plants grow in the pond? Abigail? Flowers. And what type of flower was it called? Do you remember? A flower's bloom. When a flower blooms, it means when the petals open. So when it doesn't bloom, it's when the petals are closed. What type of flower is it though? Barack. I love how he's looking back in the text to try and figure it out. Everyone can look back in the text and try and figure it out.
A lily, something.
A water lily. Good try. Read it with me. Water lily. Read it one more time.
Water lily.
This is a water lily.